Welcome to another episode of the Ultimate Freedom Teachings video series. Welcome to the Brutally Honest Tuesdays show, a place that you can come every week to say goodbye to hype, dead ends, and frustration, and hello to the truth that sets you free. I'm Robert Scheinfeld, and I will be your host. In case you don't know, I'm a New York Times best-selling author, a speaker, a coach, an entrepreneur, and a major renegade, thus the title of this show. I'm also the creator of the Ultimate Freedom Experience, my life's work. The purpose of this show every week is to drop major drops in the pond of your life, your consciousness, your awareness that can ripple out and affect you long after each episode ends. And the purpose is also to push hard and aggressively on lies, illusions, and stories so that you can discover and experience the truth with capital T's that's out there waiting for you. Welcome to episode 12. Can you believe it if you've been around for a while? Episode 12 of Brutally Honest Tuesdays. And coming back after 3 weeks off, because if you don't know, I was in China and it was run for 2 weeks and there was just no possibility of doing a show. In the future, if there's going to be an absence like that, I may pre-record some episodes and play them, or there may just be a break. But welcome. If this is your first episode, whether it's watching a replay or you're here live, welcome back if you have been participating in the show for a while. The topic for today, and it's what I consider to be the single most powerful force that shapes what happens to you every day. And that's what I call mission and purpose in life. So we're going to take a brutally honest look, some straight talk about your mission and purpose in life. And as always, the purpose of this show, we're going to take a brutally honest look at this and pop some myths, expose some lies, illusions, and stories, and invite you to consider new ways of looking at yourself and your life and the forces that are shaping what's happening to you. Before we start, just a few quick administrative and logistical issues in case you happen to be new. First, the general flow of the show is that I talk for somewhere around 30 minutes, and then I have a short message to play for you about the Ultimate Freedom Experience that I offer, and then we'll go into questions and answers. I don't look at the chat very often or the comments while we're doing this part of the show, so if you put anything in there, I won't be able to look at it until later, and I'll mention this later when the time comes for Q&A, or you put in a question during the talk part. Be sure to put a Q with a colon so that I can scan and know that it's a question and not just a comment. So then there'll be questions and answers for somewhere around 30 minutes, give or take. Sometimes I can answer all the questions that come, usually not. And here's the rule, if you don't know, I answer questions about the content of this episode or previous episodes of this show, but I do not do coaching or support or guidance on the books, live events, online experiences. That's not the purpose of this show. So if you ask a question like that, it will be ignored. If you have not already gotten a copy of my guide that's called The Big Keys to Living an Unblocked Life, Living the Unblocked Life, I invite you to get a copy of this guide. It will open a gateway for you that can take you much more deeply into some of the things that I talk about in this show. It starts out as a short guide, and then it continues, if you want to, into a 4-part video masterclass that can take you deeper. All of it's free. And it starts out with getting this guide. You can see the link to go to get that guide. And so I invite you to get a copy of that if you have not already. So let's see. Anything else that I want to say before we get going? Oh, yeah. Here we go. Where is this? If you get interrupted, you miss part of the show, you come in late, whatever, here's where to go to access replays and archives. And you can also join the Brutally Honest Tuesdays email list, where you will receive additional goodies and things that I give to people who subscribe to the email list too, which is easier for us to be able to communicate. Facebook limits how often and how we're able to communicate with people. So here's where to go to get replays, to get other information, and to join the email list. Again, I've tried to make it easy, robertscheinfeld.com/BHT for Brutally Honest Tuesdays. That's where you can get, again, replays, subscribe to the list, and other information about the show. Also find links to share it with other people. I ask you, and I'll ask you again, if you really benefit from what you see here on the show, whether it's live or it's a replay or it's a video, please, I ask you, like, share, comment, let other people know. I would appreciate the support for this show and for the work that I do. The people that you share it with can receive great benefits, and you can feel good about helping me and helping other people too. So again, I ask that if you feel that you receive benefit from this, like, share, comment. Let me know that you're there. There are times that I say, if blah, 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 you know, put a Y in the chat box or whatever. Please play with me when I ask you to do that. You know, I know that I'm live and we're connecting, but I don't see much. And so the comments that I get, knowing that you're there, seeing how these things are affecting you, how things are rippling through you that I share here is very important to me. And even though you may say that you're shy, blah, 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 that's my invitation and request, which is participate, comment, like, share, help me grow the show, help other people, blah, blah, blah. All right, so mission and purpose in life. To me, as I mentioned, this is the single most powerful force that shapes what happens to you every day. And as you know, I talked about this in some of the earlier episodes of this show. I'll talk about it later. There are so many teachings out there, and some of them are similar and some of them are different, but there's so many teachings out there that say that you create your own reality. It all comes from your thoughts, your intentions, your goals, your use of particular techniques, and that you have the power, you have the ability to create anything that you want in your life. And I embraced that for a long time, and I believed that for a long time, and I used the techniques and tried to create what I wanted. And failed most of the time in all kinds of ways that I'll talk about in a future episode. I probably mentioned a little bit in the past, and ultimately came to the conclusion, because if you don't know already, the way I'm built is to be a very curious person and to be what I call an objective scientist. I don't have attachments to things. I don't have investments to things. I don't wear blinders. I just want the truth, you know, I just want what works. And so I have an open mind. I consider anything, and I'm brutally honest and objective scientist about everything. And from going down that path and seeing for myself and just about everybody else all over the world, with almost no exceptions, it just isn't true. That party line that it all comes from your thoughts and that you create your own reality. And what I discovered is, and this probably isn't a surprise for a lot of you, because you probably have heard this or seen this or read this somewhere else, is that all of us come into this life, and the purpose for all of our lives is to have a unique set of experiences, to experience a unique story that unfolds over time. You know, it begins when you're born, it ends when you die, however long you live. And in that range, birth to death, there are specific things that your life, what I call your story, was specifically designed for you to experience. And that is what shapes everything that happens to you, what your mission and your purpose is, the unique experiences that is what your life is all about. That's what determines everything. It isn't what you want. It isn't the goals that you set. It isn't what you try to manifest, attract, or create using techniques. Everything is driven by mission and purpose. Now, there are a lot of teachings out there that acknowledge that we have a mission and a purpose, and all of us have one. We all have a destiny, however you want to language that, it doesn't matter. But at the same time, they say that you create your own reality. You can get what you want based on your thinking and your beliefs and all this stuff. And I got to tell you, brutally honest, you can't have it both ways. You can't create some of your reality and not other parts. You cannot, it's like that old saying, you know, you can't be a little bit pregnant. You're either pregnant or you're not pregnant. So you're creating your reality or you're not. And the conclusion that I came to is There's a mission and a purpose, and that's what drives everything. And by the way, that's the same thing with movies and with TV series, each episode, and with novels, particularly if it's a series like Harry Potter or something. There's a particular something, that the author's exploring as it relates to characters. There's a particular theme. There's a particular mission and purpose. Something's going on with the main character and the other characters that are involved, and that's what drives everything that happens. And this is the conclusion that I came to from being brutally honest about my own experiences. And again, if you read, I've mentioned this before, if you read biographies of successful, famous, interesting people, to me, unless you got blinders on and you're in complete denial, you can see the systematic unfolding of an intelligent plan. And you can see that things happened right when they were born. Things happened when they were young. Things happened when they were teenagers. Things happened when they were older that moved them in certain directions, and that there was this, to me, relentless unfolding of an intelligent plan. And so it's the most powerful force, and it is what drives everything. And then if you accept that, and many people do, some people don't. Some people don't like the idea of destiny, that they're not in charge, that they're not in control. To me, it's obvious if you look. I've talked about that before. I'll talk about it again. So that it brings up some questions then. And the first question is, if I'm not creating the reality and there's a mission and a purpose, who chose it? And what's happening from behind the scenes, to make sure that it's fulfilled? And can I screw it up? Can I mess up? Can I fail to fulfill my mission, complete my purpose, whatever it is, whatever language you want to use? So let's take a look at these kinds of things. My bias, my experience, my knowing of truth with a capital K and a capital T is, and I'll do another show on this in the future about who you really are. But to me, who I really am, who you really are, there's two parts to it. There's this part, the human, the personality, the character in the story, whatever you want to call it. And then there's who you really are at a more truthful with a capital T level, more spiritual level, whatever you want to call it. There's all kinds of different words for this, who you really are at a spiritual level. My current language is true creative essence is the term for who we really are. But there's many different labels for it. And to my bias, my experience, my knowing, objective scientist, it's that part of us. And by the way, this is not the same as what's typically called higher self or other kinds of things. What I call true creative essence, the part of you that chooses your mission and purpose and then from behind the scenes manages all the details is different than the typical things talked about in higher self, other labels, even expanded self that I used in some of the earlier teachings that I offered. But it's that part of you, the truthful spiritual part of you, that chooses the mission and purpose and then manages all the details from behind the scenes to make sure that it's fulfilled. And it's not a perfect metaphor, but it's good enough, to compare that to the director of a movie. When you watch a movie, or the author of a novel, but let's talk about director first. When you're watching a movie, in general, with some exceptions where the directors have fun, you don't see the director anywhere, but they're managing all the details. They're controlling everything. They're in charge of everything. They make everything happen, even if they have to orchestrate other people to make it happen. And it's like that. And we are like the stars of the movie, but we are not the ones creating it, making it all happen. It's who we really are. So that brings us to the next question, which is, there's a lot of stuff out there that says you have a mission and a purpose, but they also say that you can screw it up. You can get off track. You can blow it. You can make a mistake. You cannot fulfill your mission and purpose. And my knowing with a capital K, my truth with a capital T is that is not possible. It's not true. And that's not the way things really work. My truth, my bias, my experience, my knowing at a level way beyond intellect, logic, or whatever else you want to call it is who you really are has the power and the ability to make sure that all of our missions and purposes are fulfilled. Whatever the plan is, it it gets executed perfectly, and we end up having the experience that we came here to have. That's what our mission and purpose is all about. So what my truth is, it's not up to you. You don't have the ability to screw it up. You don't have the ability to get off track. You don't have the ability to get lost. It just doesn't work that way. In my language, if you're aware of the Busting Loose from the Money Game book, or what I call the Phase 2 teachings, then you're aware of some of the things about this and about how it really works. But you cannot make a mistake. You cannot screw it up. You don't have the ability. Everybody has a mission and purpose, and it always gets fulfilled. And it gets fulfilled over your whole lifetime. So that brings us to the next question. There's a lot of teachings out there that say you have a mission and purpose, and you must discover what it is. You must know what it is consciously. And then you must, align and shift what you're doing to make sure that you can fulfill it. And again, underneath all of this, which is in the other teachings, what I call Phase 1 dynamics, it's all about that, fear, and you can make a mistake, and you're the opposite of who you really are at the truthful level. And that's where all these things come from. That's a topic for another day if you're not already aware of those teachings, but that's where it comes from. So, and to me, this is another myth. It's not true. You don't need to know what it is consciously, because who needs to know? Who's in charge? Who you really are needs to know what the mission and purpose is, and needs to have the ability to manage all of the details, as I said, to make sure that you fulfill your mission and purpose. That part of you needs to know. You don't need to know. I don't need to know all of it or any of it. It doesn't matter. Now, some people feel that they know what their mission and purpose in life is. And my bias is sometimes when people say that, it's true. They think that their mission and purpose is this, and it is, or at least part of it is. And sometimes there are people who consciously think my mission and purpose in life is this, and that's not true. That isn't what it is. And it doesn't matter again. And some people, they know a little bit. But my bias is our missions and purposes, because they unfold over a whole lifetime, which more often than not is decades. I know some people die young and such. It's so complicated and it's so big, and it may have a primary theme, but there's no way any of us could know all of it consciously anyway. I mean, I'll give myself as an example. If you look at my life, it's obvious that a big part of my mission and purpose was to have a set of experiences that would lead me to experience things and then write about them and speak about them and be a teacher, speaker, coach, do live events, do online courses, all these things that I've done where I took this journey and then I had these experiences, and then I help other people to have the same experiences. And I can look back. Again, I mentioned biographies, documentaries about people's lives, whatever. You can see this relentless unfolding of an intelligent plan. Clearly, that's a big part of my mission and purpose, but it's not all of it. And I know that now. But if you had talked to me, I don't know, 15 years ago, 18 years ago, I wouldn't have known that that was my mission and purpose. I had absolutely no idea. Need to have a drink of water here. And again, I didn't need to know, because before I was born, the mission and purpose for what I call the Robert character for you already decided. My bias, a lot of people don't like this idea. Our whole lives, our whole story, the whole thing's written, planned in advance before our birth, before our stories start to unfold, and then they unfold and we have these experiences. And but I didn't know. I didn't need to know, because who I really am knew, and everything was marching towards the fulfillment of it, even though I didn't have a conscious idea of this huge part of my mission and purpose until I'm 61 right now, if you don't know. When did I get clear? I don't know, maybe 15 years ago. It started to become clear to me that a part of my life was meant to be a teacher, but then I didn't know. Would I have success? Would I have impact? Would anybody care about what I had to say? So even though I started to have an idea, maybe this is part of my mission and purpose, I didn't really know. So maybe the clarity's been there now for 10 years, but there's so much more that's part of it. and things that are going to happen in my life going forward from this moment forward that I don't know. So you don't need to know. And so again, these are really important things because there's so many people that I talk to. Excuse me. My throat's dry today. There's so many people that come into my sphere of influence or that I see talking about spiritual topics all over the world now. And they're worried and they're stressed and they're beating themselves up. I don't know what my purpose is. I don't know what my mission is. I'm afraid I'm going to blow it. I'm afraid I'm going to make a mistake. I'm afraid I'm not going to be able to get to the finish line because I somehow screw something up. And there's all these things that ripple out from that. And so here are the key points again that I want to review. To my bias, which I invite you to consider, and to me there's so much evidence of this if you look with brutal honesty and you are what I call an objective scientist. You look at your own life, you look at other people's lives. It may not be as clear to you right now, depending on your age. Again, if somebody said to me what I'm saying to you now 15 years ago, I'm not sure what I would have said. I think I would have agreed that there was a mission and purpose, but then if someone said, well, what do you think yours is, Robert, I wouldn't have known. So everybody has a mission and purpose. It's complex, it's detailed, it's planned in advance before you're born. It's not up to you. You didn't choose it. Who you really are, the truthful spiritual aspect of you, creates that mission and purpose, chooses the details from behind the scenes, manages everything like the director of a movie, like the writer of a novel, who has the ability to control everything to make sure that you fulfill your mission and purpose. You have the unique experiences that your life was designed to make possible. You cannot screw it up. You cannot get off track. You cannot get lost. You always fulfill the mission and purpose that your life has been driven by. You don't need to know consciously. In some stories, people get tidbits. Or it's obvious. Again, my life, you can see a big part of it was about ultimately becoming a teacher like this. And then there are other people's lives that you can see that it's obvious if you just look when they're past a certain age or whatever, even when they're younger, you can at least see what a part of it is. And then there are other people, perhaps you, that if you look or you look at a certain age when the story hasn't unfolded enough, it's not clear what the mission and purpose is. And if you were to die at 98 and not have any idea what your mission and purpose was, it doesn't matter. If it's necessary, some or all of it is revealed at some point on your journey, in your story. And if it's not important, it's not. But again, it doesn't matter because who you really are always knows, has the ability, and always makes sure, the power to make sure that you always fulfill it. And at the end of your life, whether you know some of it, you know all of it, whatever, you do fulfill your mission and purpose, which means, again, over your lifetime, however many years that is, that there are a certain big, complicated, complex set of experiences that you are meant to have with your body out in the world, thoughts, feelings, and sensations inside of you, what I call inner space. It's this very complex tapestry of unique experiences that are what's driving this whole human experience in your life in particular. Now let me see here if there's any other key points that I wanted to make here. Let's see. Yeah. Anything that you are meant to do in order to fulfill your mission and purpose, you'll do. It'll just happen. And there'll always be some story, where you got the idea, how you met somebody, why you took a particular action, whatever else it is. But I'm just saying this again because I can't tell you how many people I meet. This happened when I was in China recently. How many people believe this? They have a mission and purpose, but they're scared to death that they won't fulfill it if they don't know what it is. That whether they know what it is or they don't, that they could screw it up, that they could make a mistake, that they could do something wrong, that they could get off track. And there's a lot of spiritual teachings out there and teachers and other people who are various kinds of helpers and guides and whatevers that will say that. You've gotten off track. Your life was meant to go this way and you went that way and we got to get you back this way. And there's all kinds of amazing things that are possible from all of those kinds of experiences. which is why they happen. But to me, the truth with a capital T is it's not true. You don't have the ability or the power to get off track because who you really are, who is really creating everything down to the smallest detail, make sure that that doesn't happen and that you absolutely do have the experiences that you came here to have. And so that's what I wanted to share with you today. And so what I'd like to do now is invite you to start thinking about questions that you might have. Type them into the chat box or the comments wherever you may be looking at this. You can also do it if you're watching a replay. And let me know questions that you have, comments that you have, shares that you have on what I've shared with you. Boy, time goes by so fast. I think to myself, I got 30 minutes. And then the next thing I know, wham, it's gone. So I want to show you this message here about the Ultimate Freedom Experience. And then we'll come back. We'll do questions and answers. And again, I remind you, if you have a question, put a Q with a colon after it, because I got to scan through everything that's in a bunch of different chats and comments and things, and I scan for a Q to be able to isolate which are the questions. And we'll see how many there are. We'll see how many I can get to in the final half hour of the show. That's what I wanted to share with you today. And again, those are the key points. We all have one. A very detailed, complex, I'm going to repeat myself again. Those of you that know me, I never repeat myself. Not. We all have one. It's very complex. It's very detailed. You cannot fail. You cannot get off track. You always fulfill your mission and purpose. You always have the unique set of experiences that you came here to have, so to speak. You're not in charge. Who you really are is in charge. You don't need to know what it is consciously. Who you really are obviously needs to know to be able to manage all the details and make it all happen, but you don't need to know. And if at some point, some or all of it, or parts of it, it's important for you to know consciously, then it will be given to you somehow. And we can be given things, to my bias, that are not true. We can be told your mission and purpose is blah, 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 and it just doesn't end up being true. But if it is important for you to know the truth of some or all of what your mission and purpose is, and it's not possible, again, for us to understand all of it, it will appear somehow given to you on a silver platter. And if it's not important for you to know, and for lots of people it's not, then it won't be. And it doesn't matter either way, because at the core of all of it, the whole human experience, your whole life, my whole life, everyone's whole life is unique experiences. That's what this whole human thing is all about. Unique experiences that are not possible except with humans that have bodies and relationships and money and jobs and all the kinds of things that you deal with and you struggle with and you fight against and you try to create every day. So here is my message, and then we'll come on back and we'll do questions and answers. So here we go. During the episodes of this show, I talk a lot about an inner shift that must take place before things will truly and permanently change in your life. That inner shift I speak about absolutely can happen for you, but you cannot think your way there, technique your way there, or create, manifest, or attract it. It has to happen in a different way. I can help you experience that shift. And the best way that I know to do it is through what I call the Ultimate Freedom Experience that I offer live and online. To get all the details, visit my website, robertscheinfeld.com, and take the first step down that road, which is to download and read the guide that I created called Living the Unblocked Life. Uncover and dissolve what secretly blocks you most. It's free, it's a quick read at just 11 pages, and it will start the ball rolling for you. Get your copy at robertscheinfeld.com. All right, I'm seeing that there are some technical difficulties. It appears with YouTube. Facebook appears to be fine, but I'm looking here and there appears to be An issue with YouTube, which also feeds my website. Don't know why that happened. I mentioned before, things can happen with live streaming. It was running fine. I tested everything. So if you tried to watch on my website, you tried to watch on YouTube, I apologize for the technical issue. I don't want to stop and try to reconnect because it is going fine on Facebook. So look for the replay later if you missed it. So anyway, again, I apologize for the technical issues. Let's take a look if we have any questions. Someone here is saying it's not working on Facebook. I'm seeing that it is working on Facebook. But so there may not be any questions or only a few because of these issues. So, okay, it is what it is. So let's see what I got here. Helly says, what is the mission and or purpose for a human only living for a very short time? Could it be about the parents and not the baby? Helly, the conclusion that I've come to, and you may have heard me say this before, I used to be curious about the answers to so many questions, and I tried to answer them to the best of my ability. And sometimes I felt that I had answered it, and sometimes I felt that I hadn't. And I was still searching. And ultimately, when ultimate freedom awakened in my story, what shifted is a change took place, and I didn't make a decision. This is just something that happened. If I cannot answer a question with certainty, or if I can answer a question with certainty, but knowing the answer doesn't have any practical impact on my life, on my quality of life, then I just don't go there anymore. I just don't ask. And there are questions like this that there's just no way that we can ever know the answer to for certain. And so I just don't go there. What I know is this, and to me, even though it's general, it's enough. It may not be for you or other people watching, but for me it is. Again, everybody has a mission and a purpose, and the mission and purpose is to have unique experiences. And all of us interact with other people, and we have relationships with other people, and they touch our lives in little ways. You know, somebody says something to you on a bus or sitting next to you on an airplane, or they wait on your table in a restaurant or serve you a drink at a bar, and they have limited impact, but they touch your life, you know. So it's this very complex dance of all of us impacting each other in ways to help missions and purposes be fulfilled. And so to me, that's what's going on. And if somebody happens to live to be 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, or 100, it's a different story. It's a different mission. It's a different purpose. They're different, unique experiences that are designed to be had by the person and by the lives that they touch. What happens when they're alive, what happens after they die, in the case of somebody who dies young. And somehow it's supporting the mission and purpose and overall goals that who we really are has for this whole human experience. And that's the best answer that I can give you. And in some cases, you know, there are more specifics. It's about a kid being born, living a short life, having unique experiences for however long they lived, whatever happened that caused their death, and then it ripples out to the people that survived them. And sometimes that's a big part of what it is, but there isn't any one way, and we're never going to know for sure. So to me, the general big picture understanding is the only thing that really matters. Dorothy says, yeah, we're still down on YouTube and my website, so not going to have as many questions this week, but you can chime in on the replay on my website in order to ask questions if you got cut off. Dorothy says, if we are perfect beings created and a part of God, my words, then why are we placed into this delusional state in the first place? My thoughts were always that we were put here to learn our life's lessons and become enlightened. But aren't we already perfect in our true with a capital T forms? I just don't understand the point. It's almost a cruel joke, excuse me, especially if our stories are already written. Dorothy, I totally hear you. I get where that's coming from, including the frustration, the confusion that comes from so many of these teachings that say Earth is a school, There's certain lessons we have to learn, we have to evolve, we have to graduate from this school, and then we can go on to higher levels of whatever, and which I believed for a long time and I don't anymore. But the question that you're asking is a gigantic question, and there isn't any possibility that I can do any justice to the answer of it here in this format, which is so brief. What I can tell you is, in the Ultimate Freedom Experience that I offer, which you can do live or you can do online, where I have a much bigger canvas to paint on, you could say, much more time, the ability to share so many more things. The question that you asked, other questions that flow out of that get answered. And you have the opportunity to experience the answers, not just understand them, not just be able to get an A on a test and get more knowledge. Most of it you can actually experience, verify for yourself. And then this kind of cruel joke and what's the point and I don't get it and this doesn't make sense and all of this mind, I call it mind noise, no disrespect intended, goes away. When the truth is seen clearly with a capital S, when there's the experience of it. And that's what my work has been about in varying degrees all along, and what the Ultimate Freedom Experience is designed to do. It's designed to, at an experiential level, peel back layers of lies, illusions, and stories, or what I call knockout cloud covers, another metaphor that I use, so that the truth can be revealed and you can understand it and you can experience the key parts of it again. And once there's the experience of truth, which is what I call ultimate freedom awakening, all of these kinds of questions get answered way beyond what's possible with understanding or study or memorizing or getting A's on tests. And so I can't really do justice to your question here. Not enough time, no possible way to do it. And I don't want to try to give you some quick soundbite because it wouldn't do you any good. So my invitation to you and anyone else that's struggling with questions like that, and I realize, this is a commercial of sorts, but it's the only way that I know for so many of these things to happen, is going through the Ultimate Freedom Experience that I offer. And I would invite you to do that if you really want to have the answers to those questions at an experiential level and have those answers and those experiences ripple out to really change, let's just call it your quality of life. So let's see what else we have. Those are the only questions I'm seeing, unfortunately. So I guess if there is anybody else that is watching that has a question, I'll be happy to take it now. It looks like it would have to come on Facebook. Otherwise, again, I gave you the link to get the replay. And go watch the replay and ask questions through the replay. There's always an option for comments or whatever else related to where replays are available. Again, I apologize. This is the first time that this has happened. This is episode 12. And I haven't had an issue where it just stopped in the middle of it like this. Don't know why it happened. Everything was fine. So it is what it is. So let me see. I'll take one more look. Here's another question. This is from, whoa, where did it go? Let me try to get that back. Okay, this is from, I'm sorry if I mispronounce it, Ang or Ang Bernard. How do I really come up, shift to this burning desire to do and achieve my mission? And abundance, is there a way to overcome these habits that keep me stuck and not achieve, because most of them are unavoidable, like the daily bills that bring about procrastination? Well, I'm just going to call you Bernard because I think that's how you introduced yourself before. I have to tell you the same thing that I just said to the previous answer. I know the question's important. I hear you. I know how confusing that is. And there's no way in a couple of minutes on a show like this that I can do justice to the answer. There is an answer to those questions. And your question is there a way to overcome certain kinds of things and change things? My answer is yes. But what I discovered is the only way to really make that happen is not what most people out there teach. It's not what I call the party line. It's a very different path that you have to travel. That's what I call the truth path with a capital T for truth. That peels back again layers of lies, illusions, and stories reveals the truth of things with a capital T, enables you to experience them. And when you see the truth with a capital S, and you experience the truth with a capital E, that experience, that shift that takes place inside of you, ripples out and ultimately changes all these kinds of things that you're pointing to with your question. But beyond that, I'm sorry, there's just no time to do to me, those are gigantic questions that I could probably spend, I don't know, I'm making up a number, 5 hours trying to answer. That's the best that I can do right here. That's the important thing. And to me, that's the only thing that ever worked. It was shifting focus away from, I got this problem, how can I solve it? I got this bad habit, how can I get rid of it? I'm fighting with this negative emotion, how can I make it go away? How can I make more money? How can I this? How can I that? All these specific outcomes. Most of the teachings out there are outcome driven. You got to set a goal, you got to have an intention, you got to have a particular result that you want, and then you got to do blah, 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 whatever the steps are to try to make the bad thing go away, make the new thing come, increase whatever it is. And what I discovered is I call that the change, fix, and improve path. And what I discovered is that just leads to dead end after dead end after dead end. And the only way out of the struggle, the only way out of the pain, the only way out of what I call fighting the unwinnable wars every day is a different path, a different kind of a journey that I call the truth path. And that's what the ultimate freedom experience that I offer is designed to do, to help people do that. And it mirrors what happened to me. I was taken on a journey, and I was able to have the kinds of experiences that I just talked about. And then I was shown a way to help other people take the same journey, get the same benefits that can ripple out and affect you in the ways that I talked about. And so that would be my invitation to you. Let's see. Helly says, are you saying there's no value to being curious? I don't know where you got that idea from, but in answer I would never say, and I don't say in any of the teachings that I share, that there's no value in blah, blah, blah. There's value in everything, because again, everything from a big picture truth perspective about this human experience is about experiences. Unique experiences inside of you, unique experiences with your body, unique experiences in the world that I now call story space. And so there's value in everything. Everything isn't true with a capital T. Everything's not accurate in terms of the way the world really works, but it all has value, and it's all perfectly supportive, and it's all orchestrated for mission and purpose. So curiosity is wonderful. I'm a very curious person by nature. There's certain things that I'm no longer curious about. The stuff that I talked about before. I used to be curious about 20 million things, and then I ultimately realized I'm never gonna find out the answer to that. And even if I did, it wouldn't make any difference. My mind would just check off a list and say, oh, okay, I understand that. So what changed for me was if I can't have certainty about an answer to something I'm curious about, or it doesn't have practical value, what happened for me is I stopped exploring the question. I stopped asking the question. I stopped trying to get the answer. But that's not a prescription. That's not a must. That's not a suggestion. That's just what happened with me. And other people may arrive at the same kind of a place. Other people may not. But curiosity is wonderful. And in no way, shape, or form did I say or mean to communicate anything like that. Pia says, how do I get in contact with higher self to get into collaboration since I'm not the one who creates? Once again, Pia, that's a gigantic question that I could spend hours about. And again, the answers are in the ultimate freedom experience. You don't need to get in contact with this part of you. You are in contact with this part of you all the time. It's the way that it is. There isn't you, Pia, me, Robert, here, and then there's this other part of you that lives somewhere else, and they're separate, and we're separate, and they're watching you from somewhere else or whatever. That's in a lot of teachings directly stated or implied, and to me it isn't truth. Who you really are, this intelligence with a capital I that I call true creative essence, is here right now. You are it. It is you. there doesn't need to be any connection because there was never any separation. Now, I know it doesn't seem like that, but that's the truth. And in my language, when ultimate freedom awakens, you experience that. Who you really are has always been there. The most intimate experience that you have. Never went anywhere. There isn't any need to connect. And I know a lot of what I call mind machines don't like this idea, but this is the truth with a capital T that I was taken to, and that I invite you and everyone else watching to consider. And I realize a lot of people will reject it. There isn't any collaboration possible on this. It is so deeply ingrained into so many of us in so many different ways, especially if we studied personal or spiritual development. Me. I'm in charge. I got power. I want to have power. I want to be in charge. I want to be able to bend reality to my will. I want to be able to get what I want, And that's the way I was. And it was dead end after dead end after dead end, pain, frustration, struggle, not able to do it, not able to do it. Nobody's able to do it. Talked about that in previous episodes. I'll talk about it again. So to me, the truth, the brutally honest truth is, you don't collaborate, I don't collaborate, no one collaborates with the intelligence that's who we really are. We play our role, we do the things that we're meant to do, we have the thoughts and feelings and experiences that we're meant to have, so you could call that collaboration, but not in the sense of collaboration like you might have in a business where everybody gets a vote and can shape the destiny of what's going to happen with a business or in a relationship or whatever. It doesn't work that way. My bias, you're welcome to accept anything that you want. So again, there isn't any need for a connection because you already are connected at the most intimate level, not as an idea or a philosophy, but as a truth and as an experience that you can actually have, which is again part of what the ultimate freedom experience that I offer is all about. And the kind of collaboration that you're seeking is not possible on this journey in the way that I see it and have experienced it. And I know there's a lot of stuff out there that makes it seem like it is, that it's possible, that the human, what I call the character in the story, can collaborate with some higher intelligence and can get help and all these things. And I know it looks that way, and I used to believe that that's what was really going on. And I've been taken to a different truth, a different experience, and that truth and experience is what ultimately liberated me, so to speak, from all the struggle, all the pain, all the ups and downs, all the dead ends, all the everything that was made my life so difficult for the vast majority of my adult life. So that's the best I can do in a short time frame. Edmar says, so can I say I'm here for a reason, that coming across this teaching is part of my mission and purpose? Yes, of course. Anything that happens to you is part of your mission and purpose, whether you understand it or not, fully or at all, whether it's small or it's huge. Anything that you experience at all is ultimately part of your mission and purpose. And the mind can go crazy with this, because you could say, well, Robert, yesterday I was pulling my car out of my garage and I saw a rabbit run away. To get out of the way of the car, or I saw a bug or a cockroach on my floor in my kitchen. You're telling me that's part of my truth is everything that you experience somehow is part of your mission and purpose. It's intentional. There aren't any accidents or random things. It's all intentional. And again, I could go into so much more detail on this, but it's the same thing with a movie. It's the same thing with a TV show. And the best metaphor for this is a novel, a story that you read in a book. Anything that you see on the pages of a book, anything you see on the big screen of a movie, anything you see on the little screen of a TV show, was put there intentionally for a reason by the creators of the story. And if it wasn't important, especially with the novel, it wouldn't be there. So anything that appears is somehow contributing to your mission and purpose. And yes, all of us are here for a reason. But to me, the reason, and a lot of mind machines don't like this, they want there to be a deeper or more spiritual purpose. Like you got to learn lessons and you got to evolve and they got to be much deeper, more important is the story that I get a lot. But to me, it's all about unique experiences. That's the reason. And unique experiences are possible from unique people built in unique ways as they grow up, so to speak, having unique experiences along the way, and that's what it's all about. And there's so much more about this in the Ultimate Freedom Experience. Again, these are huge questions, and I have a little bit of time here to be able to do my best to give you something of value. Let me see. I think that's all that I have here. If there's anybody that can still see this and you have any other questions, I'm happy to answer them. Otherwise, we'll probably end the show and then we'll see what kind of questions come in for the replay. If you're watching the replay and you got cut off, again, sorry. I don't know what happened. I don't know why. Hasn't happened before. It shouldn't technically be going to Facebook and not to YouTube because it's all coming from the same place. So there must be some YouTube issue because YouTube affects YouTube and YouTube affects my website because that's where the source is on my website. So I don't know what happened with YouTube, but so let's see if there's any other questions. Okay, Grace. I'm 29 and I wonder a lot what my mission and purpose is. If it is okay to know what our mission is, what do we do meanwhile? Follow our passion, do what makes us happy, follow our thoughts and feelings. Grace, the answer to me that's the truth to this usually does not satisfy people. The mind machine, as I call it, argues and resists it, but to me it's the truth. If you pull back all the ideas, all the concepts, all the philosophies, all the teachings that are out there, whether you'd call them spiritual or you'd call them something else, here's the bottom line reality of what happens in everybody's life. Whether you're on this truth path, you're studying spiritual things, you're not. This is what's true for everybody. This is what happens. It's not a theory, it's not an idea or a concept, it's just the truth of what happens. Here's what happens. We wake up in the morning. We may have some plans, we may not. We wake up in the morning. Stuff happens in the day. A huge percentage of it, a lot of the time anyway, if not always, is unexpected, not planned. It just happens, comes out of nowhere, whatever. And then we go to sleep. And then the next day we wake up and stuff happens and we deal with it and we respond and we have whatever experiences we have and then we go to sleep. And then we wake up the next day and stuff happens and we have experiences and we respond. And most of it, again, there are some exceptions. Most of it's a surprise. Most of it's unexpected. Most of it is not what we plan. I've got a thing up on one of my Facebook groups, The Living the Unblocked Life. There's a quote from John Lennon from a song, actually it was a John Lennon song, not a Beatles song, I think. And he says, life is what happens to us when we're busy making other plans. And it's just in a very short number of words, it nails so many things that we've been talking about here and what I just shared with you. And so what do? Well, here's the truth. This is what I do. This is what everybody does. This is what happens when ultimate freedom is awake in my language. You wake up in the morning, you see what happens. You go to sleep. You wake up the next day, you see what happens. And then you go to sleep. And that's all anybody can do. And we can have plans of what we're going to do for the next week, the next 10 days. We can have a vacation. We can have something planned. And we've planned all these things. And then we get there and something else happens or, whatever. But again, that John Lennon quote's so perfect for this. So how do you live? What do you do? You're participating in the Ultimate Freedom Experience, so you're starting to get more of the big answer to this. But that's the net of it. You wake up in the morning, you see what happens. And what you're meant to do, you'll do. What you're meant to think and feel and experience, you will. Stuff will happen, expected, unexpected. Plans work, plans don't work. Blocks, resistance to what you're trying to do or what appears to be smooth sailing and help. And you go to sleep, and then the next day it's the same thing. And all of this takes care of itself over time. And by the way, this is the same thing that happens when you watch a movie, you watch the episodes of a TV show, you read a novel. Let's use the example of reading a novel. There's a story that's unfolding as you turn the pages. And every time you turn the page, you find out something more about what's happening. And a character may be in what's my mission and purpose? And what am I supposed to do? And how am I supposed to live? And the kinds of things you ask me. You keep turning the pages, you find out. You keep turning the pages, you find out more about what the story is about, and over time it starts to take shape. There's a lot more about this in the Ultimate Freedom Experience, as some of which you know, some of which you'll discover. And it's really the same thing, except for us, it's going to sleep at night and waking up in the morning, and we find out a little bit more about our story, about our mission, about our purpose. Maybe, whether we understand it or not, stuff happened, we have experiences, we go to sleep, and it's the same thing day after day after day, and it takes care of itself as your story unfolds, as your mission and purpose, more and more and more of it unfolds and manifests, or whatever word you want to use. Edmar says, what you do meanwhile is still living and fulfilling your mission. You are not straying away from what your mission and purpose is. Yes, absolutely. And again, I repeated that so many times because there's so much out there. And it creates such fear in a lot of characters, in a lot of people, a lot of anxiety, a lot of self-doubt, a lot of beating yourself up. Negative judgment of yourself, I don't know what my mission and purpose is, and oh God, I could blow it, and all this kind of stuff. But all of that disappears when there is a seeing with a capital S of the truth, and there's an experience of the truth, which is what I call ultimate freedom awakening. Adriana says, does true creative essence also shape itself into us doing? Adriana, all due respect, you know the answer to that question. The answer to the question is yes. Let me give you the example of a novel. And so a novel, a story in a book, has an author. One author, but in the story, like I use the example, as you know, of Harry Potter. Well, in the Harry Potter stories, there's hundreds, if not thousands, of characters, different people, and then places and things and dragons and all these different kinds of things. So one author, but all of these different shapes that author's imagination takes. And as you're reading a Harry Potter book or any book by any author, everything that you see on the pages, doesn't matter if it's an animal, it's a building, it's a thought, it's a feeling, it's a sensation, it's somebody doing something, all of it is not really coming from the character that appears to be doing it. It's all coming from the author. It's all flowing out of whatever you want to call it, imagination, essence, creativity, whatever, of the author. And that the author's imagination, creativity, essence shapes itself into all of the people, places, and things that are part of the story, but ultimately it's all the author. And it's the same thing with us, to my bias, but again, this is a big topic. Can't do it justice here in a short Q&A session like this. And again, I think you already knew that. Elizabeth says, is learning the truth also part of the script? Yes, but again, everything that you experience is part of the script. Now, this metaphor falls apart a little bit if you know a little bit about how movies and TV shows and stuff are made, and to a lesser extent, novels. But exceptions aside, anything that you see on the big screen of a movie was part of the script. No matter how it appears to you. Anything that you see in a TV show, you watch weekly episodes, anything you see on the screen was part of the script. In a novel, as you're reading, everything that's on the pages was part of the script. It's not that some things are planned and are part of the script and some things aren't. All of it is. All of it is part of the script. And I realize that there's so many things that are out there and that go into what I call the mind machines of people that suggest that there's something else going on, and there's all these contradictory ideas in mind machines that don't fit and don't work and conflict and contradict each other that we accept at the same time. But yes, everything that you experience inside of you, outside of you, that everybody experiences inside themselves, outside themselves, is part of the script. None of this really exists. Just like in a story, in a book, none of it really exists. It's all made up. It's all a fiction. It's all creativity and motion, whatever you want to call it. Same thing with a movie, same thing with TV shows. All of it's made up. And it's the same thing with the human experience. But again, this is huge topic. 2 minutes, isn't time to address this kind of stuff. And so mind machines can have wild reactions to these kinds of things, but that's a little bit of a brief answer to that question. but everything. And yes, if somebody discovers the truth, experiences the truth, what I call ultimate freedom awakens in their story, yes, it's part of the script. If it doesn't, it wasn't part of the script. If somebody goes down a path and the intention is to discover the truth and experience it, and they do or they don't, that's part of the script. But everything is. Everything that happens to you down to the smallest detail is part of the script, is what I have come to seeing and experience as the truth of things. And as I've mentioned before, I'll mention again, to mind machines of many people, that's really bad news. I want to be in charge. I want to be in control. Sounds like I'm a puppet. You know, all these negative stories about how bad it is that the power is really somewhere else. And it's just mind stories. It's just mind noise. And again, I can't do justice to the answer to this here. But as I mentioned before, there's two parts to all of us, you could say. Language doesn't serve. Don't take that too literally. There's this part, who we think we are, the human character in the story, personality, whatever you want to call it, and then there's who we really are. And we are fused together as one in a way that goes way beyond how it's typically taught in so many teachings, what oneness really means, to my bias and experience. And there isn't a separation. There isn't Robert and then this whatever that creates what happens in Robert's story. There isn't you and then something else that's manipulating you or pushing you around or anything. We're one, you know? The same thing with an author. To me, the best metaphor for this is an author of a novel. And I love using the example of Harry Potter, you know, because most people know about it. Harry Potter is a character, the hero of those stories, and J.K. Rowling is the author. And there are other characters that die, and there are other characters that get wounded and have bad things happen to them, and evil wins the day on many days in those stories. But all of those characters are J.K. Rowling, and J.K. Rowling is all of those characters, and she's not punishing anybody, and nobody's a puppet, and nobody's being manipulated. Harry's not being pushed around or manipulated or forced to do things against his will by some powerful entity that's in charge of it. It's mind stories, but that's not what's really going on. It's this beautiful, amazing thing that's really going on. And this fusing of who you really are and who you think you are, this and who you really are, there's this fusing that takes place that you can experience. And it's this beautiful thing, and it ripples out and changes the way that you experience everything about your past, what's happening now, what happens in your future. There's so many, I'll call it benefits, that ripple out from this experience of truth, what I call ultimate freedom awakening. But the experience of it, which is very different from what so many mind machines cook up. It's this beautiful, amazing, extraordinary experience. All positive, if you want to use that kind of language, instead of the negative that can get spewed into the mind by what I call the mind machine. So, I'm looking. Grace says, thank you, things are opening and I'm starting to truly understand. Cool. All right, so it looks like we're done for today. Again, if you're watching this replay, you got cut off from the live stream and you have questions about anything that I shared or that I said in the Q&A section, you know, wherever it is that you're seeing the replay, I invite your questions about the topic that we're working with today, mission, purpose in your life. And I'll have to make it up that way or do something else down the line, a special Q&A show or something. And once again, I apologize for the technical difficulties. So here is my close for the show. And again, if you missed some or all of this, you can get access to the replay. And I'll look forward to seeing you next week if you're a regular participant, whether it's live or a recording or a replay. So here's my close to the show. Bye-bye for now. I'll see you when I see you, however I see you, whatever shape or form I take. Okay. For more information on how I can help you unblock yourself and experience ultimate freedom, visit my website, robertscheinfeld.com, and while you're there, get the guide. The guide will open a gateway into a free video masterclass that gives you all the details.